Pahinaan na lang natin. And hello everyone, welcome back to our episode 74 of Home Buying Tips. I'm Juby, and with me is my amazing co-host Marianne, joining me again from time to time. She's disappearing, but she's still with us. How are you?
Hi everyone, hi Ate Juby. I'm always missing in action. I always get miss those things. But
So
first
good.
and foremost, I want to greet all the moms that are watching us live now. Happy Mother's Day, and to you, Ate Juby, as well, and to
Thank
me and
you.
everyone else. Oh my golly, how did you spend your Mother's Day, Ate?
As usual, work, work, work.
It's a Sunday, I think.
Yeah, Sunday. And we missed that Sunday church because my husband was sick. But I spent
Oh.
that time in my garden. He was telling me, you go and attend the church, he will just stay home. But I decided to just stay. Kunware, I'll be with you supporting you. But I prefer to do some garden. That's me.
Oh yeah. Well, as well, Ate, we that was so we celebrated our Mother's Day then because our church it's our church's 5 years anniversary for the South Auckland
Ah,
branch.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a big celebration, fifth year anniversary plus the Mother's Day
Yeah.
special for our church. Then it's such a beautiful and blessed day because I was able to bring mom, so Stephen's mom, and also our
Um,
auntie
I
who
know.
lives in the same place as us, and also auntie's daughter as well and her family. So that was a very, very blessed day for us to be able to actually bring them in there so that we can pray for them. But anyway, thank
Hey,
you for being
would you like
yes.
would you like to tell us the name of your church and where about that is? Just for other
So
people who might be interested of
yeah,
attending.
so if yes, ate. So I am CCF, so I'm Christ Commission Fellowship. So I think with our Philippines, it's actually a Filipino Christian church because it started in the Philippines 40 years ago.
Mm,
And then in New Zealand po is it's 11 years na. The very first satellite church is in North Shore, and then 5 years ago South Auckland was like it's starting to grow. I think now in our South Auckland branch, ate, I think maybe we're about 200 na, 200 to 300 people sa
is that
South
all
Auckland.
Filipinos or it's a mixed culture?
It's a mix na, yes, ate. So it's mixed na because some of our kababayans will either be married to a Kiwi or Chinese, and then there's Chinese families in there as well who are Christian in China, but then they loved it, so they ended up kind of they felt the connection with CCF, so they've been regularly attending na sa CCF. So it's
That's good.
mixture of other nationalities na, yes.
That's
So,
so nice.
Mangere. So, we're still looking for our own space to lease kasi nga sobrang nag-grow kami, malaki na, ate. So, currently we're in 63 Mackenzie Road. So, it's in Mangere, and I think it's getting small now because we're becoming quite a big church.
Mm,
So, we need to
mm.
find a bigger venue.
Oh, good, good. And to those who are new here to New Zealand, especially in Auckland, and you're also looking for a church, you want to surround yourself with
Yeah.
like-minded people, right? Try approaching
Yes.
and see if you want to try. Like in my case, in the past, I was trialing other churches as well, and others might not be your cup of tea, but try
Yes.
other churches. Anyway, a quick update as to what we have discussed last week. We covered two very important points, like how to determine the right amount to offer and also key tips to make your offer more attractive. And if you missed that episode, don't worry, you can always go back and watch it in our YouTube channel. We have the playlist Home Buying Tips, and this is now the 74 episode. And we have Mary Ann now who can add more inputs, give more tips, although we've discussed this in the past, but who knows what other new insights we have right now.
Yes, that's true. And that was so at the last week's topic is that the making an offer, right?
Yeah, yeah. How to make an offer when you like the house. Of course, you kind of weigh up things, and I have given them a tip like look around the prices in that area, so you can have an idea and not specifically stick to the CV of the house online because it may not speak the true value of the house. Because like in our case,
Yes.
CV is low, but we know the value of our house because we really put so much effort in upgrading it. Yeah.
Yes, I think Ate as well. I don't know if you guys have if you have mentioned that last week as well. So you know how currently we are still in the cold market, so it's getting
Yeah.
warmer, but it's still in the cold market. So pretty much there are still houses in there that are being sold way below the CV. So it's like 150
Mhm,
below the
mhm.
CV. So it's still the best market to buy.
I've mentioned that as well last week that the prices of the house may also be impacted by the current market value. Is that it? Like,
Yes, the CV. Yes, at
but the other one, so CV, oh yeah, current value, and then
the
uh
RV is rateable value.
rate. Which one is more valuable? Rateable value or current
It's
value?
actually very, very similar because the current market value is that it's pretty much that is where your property is sitting at the moment. So that's the marketable value that you
TV.
can or you are, yeah, you are able to sell it. Then rateable value, it's quite similar as well, but that is they call it RV because it is pretty much how Auckland Council is rating your property. So that's
Mm.
rateable value
I know we've discussed this in the past as well, but with the many topics we've discussed, it's like, oh no,
too.
it overflowed. Anyway, this is the part two of our discussion now. And we have, oh, we're supposed to have a special guest, but they are still on auction. Anyway, we've got Marianne here, who's an experience when you are making an offer. So, say for example, you like the house, you've done all your research, you ask your friends around, and you know the value or the market value at the moment, and you put an offer. And I've mentioned that there is like, what do you call that?
Sales
Agreement,
and purchase agreement. Sales
sell
and
and
purchase.
so when you want to make an offer, you fill that in, right? How
Yes.
much amount you would like to offer for that house, and
Mm.
then any conditions that you would
Yes.
like. And let's
Yes.
dive into the topic. What's next? After you put an
Okay.
amount, say 700,000 is what I'm offering. And these are the conditions. How do you say it?
So
There's a
the
term.
so you've discussed ate when you make an offer, and then is this gonna be the part two? So what happens after you make an offer?
Yes, yes, kind of like that. Say
Are
you
you
set your
looking?
conditions. This is my
Yeah.
offer when the bank approves it, or something like when the building inspection is okay, or can you set those conditions, right?
Yes. So it
Yeah.
is actually the purchaser who can choose whatever conditions that you want to put on your sales and purchase agreement. So pretty much, um, it doesn't. Sometimes there will be possibility that even if your offer is a little lower, than say if you asked an agent that how much is your vendor expecting, what are the
Mm,
expectations,
yes.
and then the agent, which is say when I was an agent before, of course I'm gonna say, oh, we're looking around mid 600s to high
Mm,
600s. But say you were only pre-approved by beginning like early 600, say
mm,
620 is your max, and you can only offer 600 because you don't want to max out
mm,
your approval. So now it doesn't matter how high or how high your offer is, or the closest to the mid range that I mentioned as an agent, but there are times that the person who put a lesser condition, even though they have a lesser
mm,
value of offer, gets actually accepted by the vendor because it's for me as the vendor. Imagine if you're the vendor and you really want to sell your property.
Yeah.
Yes, I really expect the closest to the 650, but I received an offer that is only subject to finance, and everything else they don't care about. The building inspection, they don't care about limb report, they don't care about toxicology or
Mm-hmm.
anything else. They just want financial
Mm.
condition. And then, because remember how I mentioned to you, Ate, there are a lot of different selling options. So there's negotiation, there's the asking price. Majority of the times, you will get your agent call you and say it's become a multi offer. So
Oh,
once it becomes a multi offer, because
haven't
what
heard
they're
that.
gonna do, so us, Ate, as agents, our fiduciary obligation is to the vendors that we are selling the house, right? So you are my vendor. My 100% obligation is to protect you. So what's gonna happen is that from the whole time that I'm marketing my your property, and I've had, say, 5, 6 interests who wanted to put an offer to your house. Now I received an offer from, say, Steven. He sent me an offer, and the offer is 620 without, and that's just conditional to finance. So what's gonna happen is that, okay, I received an offer, but I will have, because I have a fiduciary obligation to my vendor, I will have now to go back to the other interested parties and call them
Mm.
and say, I have received an offer. If you have any interest, again, you can, you are free to do so before I present it. So if any of those other five interested party will come back to me and say, oh yeah, actually, I would want to put an offer, then it's gonna turn into multi-offer. So at least I'm trying my best to give the best result to my vendor. That's
Mm.
our job. That's
Mm.
our job, to get as much interest on the property. So once it, and then now the very Stephen is the one who say put the offer that was, it's highly likely gonna be accepted. I'll go back now to Steven, and then I'll say it's turned into a multi offer. And so is this your final offer? Like, is this your best? Are you putting your best foot forward or something? And if say Steven said, "Yep, that's my best offer. I'm not gonna go any higher, but I only have one condition. It's just finance, and that's it." So if
Mm.
another offer comes back to me and say, because it's a lot of negotiation, ate. So
I
now
know.
the other offer comes back and say, okay, I'm giving you 650, but it's subject to limb, subject to finance, subject to toxicology, subject to building inspection. Then you've got four other conditions. You as a vendor, you'll be like, oh my gosh, like what if one of those conditions fail?
Mm. You'll be wasting
So
that
you'd rather,
time.
yeah, so you'd rather want to go and deal with, the one that has a little bit lesser money, but you have little less risk of actually falling, the contract will be falling. So there's
So
a
for,
lot of competition.
yeah, and for the buyers, if you really want the house, the less conditions you make, then your offer is more attractive, in other words, if
Yes.
you have less conditions. So even if your offer is slightly lower than the expected price of the seller,
Mm.
but you have less conditions, yeah, so, sounds good. I don't remember exactly what conditions we put in when we
Put an
offer.
offer.
But there was indeed, yes, you said there's a lot of negotiation because we were like sticking to the CV. It's a low CV at that time. And but the house is neat and minty. And the agent, it was the agent that we talked to, and they were like, can you offer this higher? And then I went a little bit up, but still lower than their expectations. And then they went down until we meet in the middle.
Somewhere. Yes. So there
Mhm.
there has to be a wiggle room. And as a buyer, I would suggest that you can't really max out your money as well. You wouldn't want to put yourself in a position of, of you're not even able to pay it off, because then your
Mm,
repayments, I know I had buyers before ate that they really maxed it out, and they had to even borrow money from friends to top it up
mm,
so that they can put the best offer. But for me, it's just way
not
too
advice.
risky. It's
Yes,
way too
yes.
risky, because see, like what happened now when the interest rates went up, it was very hard for them to pay off their mortgage, and then suddenly they still have to pay their friends because they've
That's
borrowed
true.
50,000 as well from the friend.
That's true. And there are also other expenses apart from the price of the house. So don't just say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're going to use it all up. Don't. And
Yeah.
we're happy we didn't. And yes, so once the seller is now happy to accept your offer, what's next? Because at the
So
beginning, you are making a conditional offer. That's a conditional offer, right?
yes. So once, let's just say you are the vendor, ate, and now you chose, so we're not choosing the lesser condition. Okay, so we put the one that has lim report, building report, because that's always going to be the same situation. Most of the buyers will always have to put those condition, because sometimes, majority of the times, the banks actually want all those conditions to be in there before they approve the finance.
Yep,
So
true.
banks sometimes will even request for you to have a valuation of the
Correct.
house. So what's gonna happen is that if the vendor has accepted your offer, and now it falls under contract, so the sales and purchase agreement has been dated, it means that the vendor has accepted your offer. Now you go into the conditional day. So you know how when you put the 10 days conditions to finance, so your 10th day will start on the next business day. So say if your offer has been accepted tonight, tomorrow will be your first day of your conditional business day.
Is it conditional or unconditional? Because the first offer,
Conditional.
subject to some approval, that's conditional.
Yes, 10 days of condition. So like let's say, ate, you
Ah,
have
yeah.
your offer is 10 days finance, condition to finance, 5
Mm,
days to building inspection, 5 days conditional to lim report.
mm,
The most important thing in there, ate, is the finance.
yeah. Yep.
So, and of course, it's not just the finance. It's like I know that vendors hate this, and agents will always let us buyers say, no, remove your due diligence because it's gonna put off the vendor. But for me, it
It's a
makes me feel
protection.
like, yeah, I know that it's gonna make me spend quite a lot from, of
Mm,
course, paying my lawyer to do a due diligence. But saying, if you're buying a house that you're not even sure of the boundary, so let's just say like the house that I sold in Clark's Beach, it was quite confusing in terms of boundary. Then
mm,
my buyers had to put that condition of due
mm,
diligence,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
they wanted to make sure, your easements, does it have easements, does it have anything on the title that needs to be rechecked.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
need that, you need to do your due diligence. So most of the lawyers, like with attorney Maricel, I know that when one of my buyer used attorney Maricel and I was the agent, we put the offer, aside from the conditions on in the front page of the sales and purchase agreement, at the further terms of sale, um, we have put 10 days condition to due
Yeah.
diligence.
Yes.
So Miss Maricel had enough time to really check on the title, because that house was a townhouse. So Miss
Mm,
Maricel wanted to check if, are there any easements? Are there any, what do we call that? Anything that will affect, your sellability if you want to
later on.
resell the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's
You would want all those. So, okay, so going back at it to your question earlier. So, after the vendor accepts the offer, now your 10 days, which is the longest, the 10 days will start. And also your condition to lim and your building inspector also starts. So it means within the
Mm.
5 days,
You
you'd
need to.
have finish your building inspection and your limb report. You've done your due diligence with the limb report. You've done your due diligence with it, which you had to book your building inspector. Majority
Mm.
of the times, that's why I said 5 days of building inspector, because building inspection sometimes it only takes 2 days and you get the report.
Yeah, that's true.
So within that report, your lawyer usually wants to also check that, because what's good is that if you put pretty much everything in 10 days, your lawyer will have enough time to see that if there's something wrong with the building inspection, they can renegotiate to your vendor.
Mm.
So as a buyer, if they say, let's just say the wall retention outside, and it's a red mark in the building inspection and it says need high importance, that if it maybe if it rains too much, then the
Mm.
wall might fall, then
Mm.
that's a high importance of something in that building inspection. Now your lawyer as a buyer can communicate to the lawyer of the vendor, because now it's actually in the hands of both the lawyers now,
Oh,
ate.
yes.
What's going to
Mm.
happen? The lawyer will can come back to the vendor and say, this has to be fixed, this has to be fixed.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get fixed within this time, we either can cancel the agreement and
Mm.
not accept. So there it is quite a very tedious and very complicated process of buying a house, and that's the reason why you always have to have a proper
Oh, yeah.
team to be working with you. Yes, especially
Yes.
lawyer, because the lawyer is the one that's going to protect you.
Especially if there are a lot of red flags and in
Yes,
the building inspections, that's going to be a lot of negotiating if you still want to go
yes,
ahead. So it's really good to have due diligence. So you have to weigh up things whether you're going to offer with less conditions or you want to protect yourself as well. It's totally up to
yes,
you. We're not giving you advices. We're just
yes.
sharing.
Because at the end of the day, ate, you know how me as an agent before, once it gets under contract, so once it's under contract, real estate agents cannot do anything anymore.
So when you say under contract, is it like unconditional?
No, so under
That
contract means it's
oh,
that
when you're
conditional period.
negotiating
The
the conditional.
conditional period. So
Ah.
it means that, let's just say, at the okay, so a different scenario. You've got that 5 days building inspection. Within 5 days, you've finished the building inspection. The building inspection is mint and clean and done. It's pristine.
Mm.
So you can now declare, your lawyer will declare, yep, conditional to building inspection is unconditional with that. Sorry, it's unconditional for building inspection. So that's done. You've already ticked that. Now you still have the limb report. So now the lawyer will check the limb report. If the limb report seems like everything is clean, everything is done, then you can tick that as well. Now we're just gonna wait for the bank. So if the bank is 10 days, if by eighth day and your bank hasn't got back to you or your lawyer,
Mm.
then it's kind of like getting quite, you're gonna get anxious already, and even the lawyer is gonna get anxious,
Mm.
because but majority of the times it's the lawyer has a power to actually say everything seems good, building inspection is all perfect, lim report is all perfect, then they can get back to the bank and say
Mm.
nothing's wrong with the property. So now the
Mm.
bank is saying, yeah, so it's
Okay.
the bank
Yes.
now will be like, okay, so yeah, okay, well maybe this house is worth something.
Yes, yes. In other
So
words, the lawyer is the security for the bank, assurance for the bank that that property is okay and it is saleable later on in case there would be untoward circumstances. So I
yes,
mentioned that last week as well. That once you like the house before you make an offer, engage with a lawyer straight away. You don't just make an
yeah,
offer without a lawyer.
yes.
No.
You get to be like, I think it's quite beneficial as well, ate, to be learning the law, and learning, trying to research as much as we can regarding real estate New Zealand, because I think, like, for now, me, I may be a choosy buyer now. So remember how I put an offer to a property and
Yeah.
I know the real worth of the property. I think I'm not gonna be putting that. And I think the agents that I'm working with right now, they're be like, oh shucks, I'm working with an agent. She
Ah,
knows, I know there I cannot be fooled because I
yes.
have
You have
the
knowledge.
knowledge. Yes.
Yes.
So now they can either come back to me and just sell it to me because they know that I know something's wrong with the property, or we can just like, nope, I'm done with that. I'm gonna move
Yeah.
on to something else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's I think it's quite good to have knowledge in in the market and in real estate because you know what you're gonna have to look for like after. Like you can
Yeah.
look for, red flags,
True.
how much do you think the house is worth?
You become
And
picky, in other words. Like you're up to details. Like, oh, what about this?
yeah,
You don't have any ideas. You'll be like, okay, let's go ahead. Without even
yeah. Like
you'll end up in a boiling water.
that's so true, Ate. And I see my eyes are so quick because I appraise houses. So my eyes are so quick. If I see a mark on the ceiling, okay, does that mean a mold or does that mean a leak?
Mm.
I saw a house. We
Mm.
viewed a property up somewhere near Russell Road, and I really like it because it looks so cute. It looks so nice. It's tidied up
Mm.
well. But then I looked at the ceiling at the garage. It looks like it got patched up. I said, "What's
Mm.
wrong with that?" And then the agent didn't even notice that. It's like, "Oh, I
Mm.
didn't notice that." And I'm like, "Okay."
It's
And
really
then I'm
different
like,
when your buyer is an experienced real estate agent. Yeah. Oh, that's good. So after the conditional, once everything is sorted, good to go, unconditional now.
so once, let's say on the ninth day, it's always gonna be on the very last day when lawyers sit, and
Oh, okay.
I, it makes real estate agents anxious, Ate, and even not just real estate, but also the vendor, because the vendor's like, oh my gosh, is it gonna go unconditional? But
Mm,
once the bank said, yep, it's all good. Once the lawyer said it's all good, everything's all good, the due diligence turns out everything is all well, then they go to the bank. The bank said, yep, it's all good. Then now the lawyer can go to the lawyer of the vendor, which the vendor will kind of also be in contact with the real estate agent of the vendor. And that's when they say, okay, we are going unconditional. Then it means that the buyer has already successfully bought the house. They are now the
technically,
owners of the house.
technically,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Yes. So they're really the owner of the house now. Okay. So they're like, yay. Now you wait for the settlement. So once it's
Mm,
unconditional, what settlement did you put in the front page of your sales and purchase agreement? You will have to settle the full amount of the property's value, because let's just say it's 600, you have given 20% deposit and pretty much 80% you will have to pay that. And make sure that you will have to pay that on the time that you promise to settle, because most of real estate agent sales and purchase agreement is that you have to pay 15% if you get late.
oh, really?
Yes.
Well,
You have
anyway.
15% interest when you're late. Sometimes I think Ray White, I'm not sure now with Ray White. It depends on brands as well. I think with Barfoot and Thompson it's 14 or 15%. With Ray White, I think it's 18%, somewhere around that. I'm not
Oh,
very I'm not very up to date now, but it sometimes it depends on the interest. So you'll have to really pay the money on the day. And that's the reason why
yes.
if you're using Kiwi Saver for deposit, within that 10-day conditional period, ate, if you're using your Kiwi Saver as your deposit, your lawyer should have already been in contact with your Kiwi Saver provider to be
Mm,
able to withdraw your Kiwi Saver for the deposit.
okay. Hang on. I'm trying to remember how we did it 5 years ago. I think straight away when we went conditional, it was the deposit we paid. So we have that deposit already, 10%. We have that amount. And then we transferred it to it's like a trust fund of,
Yes.
uh, I don't remember exactly if it was the lawyer or the agent. I think it was the agent, a trust fund
They,
of the agent.
yeah, so it's if say when I was with Barfoot, it goes to the Barfoot and Thompson Trust Fund, public something
Mm,
trust fund.
yeah, I think so.
But you will pay your deposit on the day that the contract goes unconditional.
Mm. And then the
So once
settlement is when the bank pays,
the full amount,
because it won't go past you anyway. You won't get the money.
it
It's from
won't.
the bank to them. I don't know. It's like it will just go past your in front of you, and then you won't
Oh
even
my
touch
god.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. So you won't even see your money. It's just gonna go
yeah,
straight there.
straight
But
to their
yeah, so
account.
settlement at it will be the last, say 80% if you put 20% deposit. So um once it's settled, that is also the day that you can possess the house. So
Mhm.
this is the complicated one. A lot of my buyers doesn't really understand that. If you're unconditional, um pretty much you're still not you're not actually still
Possessing the
able to
house.
possess
Yeah.
the house. Yeah.
Mm.
So if something happens to the house, this is one of my favorite subject when I was studying real estate. If there is something that happened to the house before settlement, it will still be liable to the vendor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it gets burned, then the buyers can get out of the contract. If it gets flooded, the buyers can get their deposit back. And that's the reason why they have to put it on a trust fund at it, the
Mm, so it won't
deposit.
go
So
directly
it
to the
protects, yes,
seller.
it protects your buyers.
That's right, because we went unconditional in September, I think, and we had our settlement at the end of October because the seller were still asking for some days for them to find another house to buy because they want to move out, right, and move into the new one. And we settle all the insurances. What else? Yeah, house insurance and content insurance on the day of our settlement. Even before we
Uh,
went there, we came to the house, we move in. So we set it up already around September that our insurance will start on the day we move in, on that settlement day. I can still remember October 28th, 2000.
yes.
So yeah, we technically, what happened to the house, whatever happens to the house during the time that we're not there yet, since it's not covered
Mm.
by insurance because we're not living there yet. So yeah, we're pretty much safe.
Yeah. So if you're buying a house ate that is tenanted, periodic tenancy, then you want it vacant possession, then you will have to wait 42 days to have
Mhm.
it to finish the periodic tenancy agreement.
Mhm.
So 42 days for the tenants as well to be able to also maybe
For
look for
another
something
house.
for them to move out. Yeah.
So it's
But
like one.
majority of the times, most of the houses at that I sold that is tenanted, once they already know that the house is gonna go, on the market, because
Yeah.
we have, as agents, we have to also have good relationship with the tenants, because during open homes,
Yes, sure.
yeah, we will have to let them know, or the property manager, if it's under property management, they'll have to let them know at least a couple of, I think, 2 weeks before they put the property on the market. So it's by law, the vendor and the property manager have to let the tenants early on know that they're planning on putting it on the market, because it's gonna be so unfair for them out there, right? Because they will be like, oh my gosh, like, where am I gonna move if
Mm.
you do it surprisingly that, oh, we're putting it in the market.
It's
So
just
yeah,
human consideration. Yeah, fair enough. Just
yes,
be kind to
but it's
others and
also law.
that's good. The law is really protecting, most of the time, the vendors or the renters, that's what they're
Yeah.
saying. But it's
Yes.
also good to just look after those people who could hardly afford anyway. Yeah. Right, there you have it. We've got this very interesting talk about making an offer and moving from conditional to unconditional. And we've even slightly covered the settlement date. So at least you have an idea as to what's next. Or whoever
Yes.
is watching us right now and already in that journey, let us know. And let us know how you feel about this time. Or if you're just kind of, researching about home buying here in New Zealand, so you are more equipped when you buy a house, you'll become more like Marianne, who can spot some tiny things around the house and be picky as well. I don't know the ups and downs of that one, because you might end up not buying anything because
I
you
know.
need to find a perfect house, I would say. But yeah,
It doesn't
just
need to be ate, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be. I was even putting an offer
a
to a
fair,
Dua
fair one.
property. Right, right. Yes, ate. Because
We can
like
discuss more
cool.
about the property that you were looking at, and what are the red flags that you have noticed and how you dealt with it.
Yeah. What update on that? We lost the multi offer.
I thought
So
sounded.
according to the agent, it's so funny. So according to the agent, they accepted a much higher offer than how
Oh.
much I offered. And
Mhm.
then I'm like, okay, because I pray about everything at it. So I prayed that if it's not for me, take
Something
out
that
my
you
interest on it. Yes, at it, like I can accept it. So I was like, okay. And so they accepted a higher offer, I think 30,000 higher than us. That's what they were saying.
Oh,
But
okay.
then I think after 5 days, that contract has fallen
With
because the finance, the first offer,
oh.
the one that they accepted, has the contract has fallen, so it didn't go unconditional.
Oh.
The agent's fiduciary obligation is to let us know as well, the ones that joined the multi offer. um but then the interest is gone. My
Yes.
heart's desire is gone.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, oh, you rejected me already. I'm not gonna go. That's a tendency. Eh? But yeah, it is what it is, and I'm pretty sure there's another one that's better. That's why the
That's
interest
true.
is away.
Yes, yes, that's true,
Thank
I
you so much
think.
for this discussion, Marianne. Thank you that you've joined me to hear a different perspective,
Yes,
especially from an experienced agent. So don't forget,
yeah.
next week we'll continue our home buying journey and we'll discuss anything that we feel like will be valuable to you, especially in your journey buying your own home here in New Zealand, or even renting it out, or even buying a new house, because anything that will help you thrive in New Zealand, we're going to discuss it here. So stay tuned po.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks,
Is that gonna
everyone.
be? See
See
ya,
you next
ate.
week. Bye.
Thanks, guys.